So I saw your pitch for this new game, Valorant? It looks interesting, but I want to know about the agents people can play as. Can you walk me through them?
Absolutely. So, first up, we have two leaders of the organization, Agent 1, Brimstone, and Agent 2, Viper. Brimstone is a weathered war vet with lots of experience in the field. He's on the older side and is essentially the dad of the protocol. And Viper is a cold-hearted scientist who uses poison to get her way.
Okay, so we have Dad and Mommy.
Yes. Wait. What?
So, Agent number 3.
Oh, yeah, Agent 3 is Reaper.
Like, the Overwatch character? Carl, we've been over this. You can't take other people's intellectual property.
Okay, but he's Reaper? With empathy.
You know what? Fuck it. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Radianite Collider. If you're new here, my name is Luna, and today we are here to talk about Valorant, in case you couldn't tell from the thumbnail, title, and intro of this video. However, before we take a deep dive into the relevance of everyone's favorite Undead Catboy, I have a few things to say. First, I'm sorry for disappearing off the face of the earth for half a year. I didn't know enough games, and trying to make videos for the same 3 games was getting hard. Second, I am back and here to stay, so you should subscribe and like and comment and whatnot for secret behind-the-scenes YouTube algorithm things. Now, without further ado, a quick rundown of the Valorant lore. If you already know the Valorant lore, just skip to this timestamp to hear the theory. Valorant takes place on our Earth an unspecified amount of time into the future. There is an event called the First Light, during which a meteorite composed of radianite crashed down into a location known only as Point Light. The 2 main effects of this were the creation of Radiance, a supercharged version of humans that developed abilities that are best described as superpowers, and Radianite being used as a power source. There was a suspected third, arguably more important effect, which is the splitting of the Earths into Earth Alpha and Earth Omega. And yes, the names are really bad, I know. Trust me, calling someone Omega Jet for notes reasons was not silly goofy in my opinion. Both Earths developed the same radiance and relied heavily on Radianite for energy, but that's about where the similarities run out. The last thing both Earths shared was Valorant. On one Earth it was called Legion, and on the other, the Protocol. But on both Earths the objective was clear, ensuring that no Radiant gains too much power. There is one character in particular that we know basically nothing about, and that's Agent 8. But we aren't here to talk about him, because when I say we know basically nothing, I mean it. So we are talking about the second most mysterious character, Omen. He is Agent 3 of both Valorant Protocol and Valorant Legion, and he is a self-proclaimed monster. He was once a human man, as confirmed by Sova.
Don't forget who you are, Omen. A man, not a monster.
We also know that he is now a ghost, or reanimated soul of some kind, due not only to his gameplay and wraith-like tendencies, but also to the absurd amount of voice lines referring to him as such. We do not have time to sit and listen to all the proof, so I offer you my personal favorites. Killjoy will say about an enemy Omen,
"I'll get that spooky ghost boy."
And Omen, if he kills someone shortly after ulting, will simply say, "Boo." The question here is, how did Omen get from his normal human form to the way he is now? Okay, that's all the important stuff that won't be covered later in this theory, so let's get rolling with theory number 1. Sage is one of the most basic agents you start the game with, one of the 2 resident healers of Valorant, and the one that gets the most shit in competitive when her teammates die. It has been shown consistently that Sage and Omen have some form of bond. The first hint of that is when the Versus player card came out and we got this image of Sage staring down a shattered and menacing form of Omen. Each one of these Versus cards depicted an extremely relevant lore moment, such as Phoenix coming face to face with his mirror self, Viper and Reyna begrudgingly getting along in order to save Reyna's sister, and most importantly of all, Raze and Killjoy being lesbian lovers. Nanobomb is canon, baby! So it stands to reason that this card is supposed to be indicative of something important. The most recent proof of the connection we got between this pair was in the Revelation cinematic. When Earth Omega Omen was minding his own business trimming a bonsai tree, and Sage paused her being extremely hot to get shot by a robot. Despite no visual cues to tell him she was wounded, Omen knew and he ran to her aid. One of the frames of them from that cinematic was later turned into a player card known as Scars That Bond. This shows pretty clearly that the pair are connected in some way. But the connection aside, allow me to explain why I think that Sage tried and failed to resurrect Omen. There is an Omen player card by the name of What's Another Death, in which the position he is in very much resembles that of the Sage resurrection pose agents take on when rezzed in-game. On top of that, Viper and Omen have a lot of history, which I will explain more in Theory 3. but Viper clearly has some form of disdain for Sage and thinks that in the past, Sage failed her.
Viper, have you thought about my offer? You don't have to.
Never, ever assume you can help me. You can't help me. You can't help them.
And
Sage, you're the only one who can keep us alive. Don't fail us now like you failed me then.
both of these could be and seem to show Sage failing Viper in an attempt to resurrect someone. Perhaps someone who
survived obliteration.
One of the big differences between Earth Omega and Earth Alpha is how they use their supply of Radianite. Earth Alpha and Earth Omega both heavily relied on Radianite for energy, but Earth Omega used up their supply, creating biodomes to protect their people against rising sea levels. This resulted in a deficit of Radianite, causing the Earth Omega agents to try to use the spikes we find in the game to steal Radianite from Earth Alpha and replenish their supply. However, Kingdom Co. and Kingdom Industries of Alpha and Omega respectively wanted to find a more permanent solution, resulting in the Everetland Research Facility, a scientific base that was home to some of the most brilliant scientists of both Earths and the Radianite Collider, a device that was supposed to be able to provide unlimited amounts of Radianite for both worlds and solve the issues Earth Omega was facing. However, the Collider never made it online due to Chamber. Chamber was the chief weapons designer at the Kingdom Defense Program, and he is also the creator of Fracture. He teamed up with the Earth Omega version of himself to meet up on Fracture and explode the Collider the day it was meant to launch. You can see on Fracture the empty gun cases on both sides of the Collider, where the Chamber's perched to shoot it. The pair shot 2 bullets at the exact same time that hit the center of the Collider. They exploded in on themselves and destroyed it, and killed everyone within range. This is proven through a voicemail Killjoy leaves Brim, in which she expresses sadness that everyone at the site died.
Seeing the husk of the facility? It's the people. All those people. Brim, they weren't even soldiers. They were scientists.
So here's where Omen actually ties into this story. La Accord, the most thirst trappy content Riot put out before they literally posted a thirst trap of Harbor on their official TikTok account. Don't think I'm gonna just forget about that TikTok user play Valorant. In La Accord, we see the agent Chamber interacting with the Earth Omega version of himself in some kind of twisted mindscape. During the trailer, he uses Headhunter 3 times. All 3 bullets put a hole clean through a broken statue of none other than Omen. Mind you, the content in this trailer is definitely open to interpretation because Brimstone doesn't get stuck in a Sonic-style Chaos Emerald in the game, but it does show that there is at least some history between the spooky Ghost Boy and the stupid Soup Boy. Chamber also very much likes to gloat, as shown by his voice lines,
I'm a good shot.
And
Okay, last looks. You all look wonderful. Me, I always look good. We are ready.
so it stands to reason that had he killed Omen and was aware of the connection that he shared with Viper, he would be the type to gloat about it. Knowing Viper hated him for his past actions, he would repeatedly ask her out like he does in these voice lines.
Viper, you must let me take you out sometime. Dinner, dancing. I know the perfect place.
And similar to Viper,
I would rather drink my own poison.
then hear that voice line again. Perks of being friends with a Chamber main and a Viper main. Omen also speaks about surviving obliteration, which very easily could be about the Collider explosion, which caused a lot of damage, as we can see in the Fracture map trailer. We also know that Kingdom was aware of Chamber's tampering due to the voice lines over the intercoms warning scientists that if
Vincent Fabron is no longer permitted on facility grounds. Any persons resembling Fabron must be reported.
So it stands to reason that through the tampering of Valorant's resident spy Cypher, Valorant could have also been aware of the sniper's plans and sent Omen pre-death to handle it. When he was found dead, they demanded Sage revive him, but the results were obviously not as expected, resulting in the tension between Viper and Sage. One of the big things that originally led me to this theory, though, is it doesn't make sense for an organization to be formed with the purpose of ensuring Radiants don't get too much power, to then turn around and have their third member be a walking, talking ball of Radianite. I sincerely doubt that they would recruit the emo anime version of Coughing if that were the case. It would make significantly more sense for the first Radiant to be recruited to be Sage or Agent 7. Making an exception to the no Radiance policy for Sage, a healer, is a logical thing to do, not so much for Walmart Reaper. Some things about that theory that don't necessarily line up though. It is suspected that the split between Earths occurred at the First Light, and everything that happened after that differs between the 2 planets. So if Omen didn't become the way he is until the events leading up to Fracture, how did it happen the same way on both Earths? This could just be explained as video game logic because despite the split between worlds, both Protocol and Legion went on to recruit the exact same agents in the exact same order, and Agent 8 went missing on both Earths, so it's very possible there just isn't a concrete explanation for that one. And had Omen died on Fracture, then the agents of the Protocol would be aware that Chamber's the one that killed him, and they would likely not even allow the Sentinel to enter headquarters if that was the case. However, when speaking about Chamber in an email, Cypher lists his record as squeaky clean, so perhaps they didn't know after all. In the weeks leading up to the announcement of Fade, agent dossiers could be found throughout the various maps of the game. One such dossier is Omen's. In her attempt to blackmail him, she mentions 2 key lines that I want to point out. The first being, "The first light wasn't kind to you," and the second being, "From what I found at Point Light." This is where we have to veer straight into how in the world are these 2 things related territory, but I promise all will become clear soon. Omen and Viper were close before he became the way he is, and that is shown through a few voice lines the pair share. Omen says,
"Just think, Sabine, you used to heal with your skill. Funny."
Showing that he knew her before she became the cold-hearted person she is now. He also says,
"Don't die here, Sabine. I need your secrets."
Implying he thinks Viper knows stuff about him or his past that he now wants to know. There's also a voice line from Viper where she almost accidentally calls him his real name before correcting herself.
Omen. Keep yourself together, you're still needed.
All of these voice lines together show pretty clearly that Omen and Viper knew each other before the events that changed both of them into the people they are today. Now we go even deeper into how in the world are those connected territory. Every agent has a contract that you need to finish in order to unlock them and play them in-game. And in the second half of the contracts, there are player cards that are best explained as backstory cards. The one I'm most interested in is Viper's, which depicts a lighthouse standing alone against a stormy backdrop. Oh yeah, and Seattle is also there, I suppose. Now, fun fact about lighthouses in Seattle. If you look them up, you will find that 7 out of the 13 there have the word point in their name. This is because lighthouses are meant to stop ships from hitting the shore during bad weather, so outcroppings of land, or points, are often home to lighthouses. The combination of the Viper card and the name Point Light makes me think that the lighthouse was the site at which the first light occurred. This theory is also aided by the bolt of lightning striking the lighthouse tower, a trait shared between this card and the Eye of the Storm neon card, which depicts a radianite storm surrounded by bolts of lightning. We know based on Fade's words that Omen was likely at Point Light when the first light occurred, and that it was not kind to him. We can further back this and the lightning connection up by once again looking at Omen's What's Another Death card, in which you can see bolts of lightning hitting his suspended body. So if Omen was caught in the lightning storm that occurred during the first light and was incinerated by the meteorite, it would make sense that his radianite-infused soul might come back in the form that he takes in the game. Something of note that didn't fit cleanly in the body of this theory is that America is the only country with 2, potentially 3 if I'm right about Omen, agents on the protocol. So if the first light occurred in Seattle, that would offer an explanation as to why there's 2 Americans, seeing as they would have been the first affected. A few things that make this theory questionable are just that it makes evidence from the other theories not line up as well. For example, the connection between Sage and Omen could not be explained if he died at Point Light, because Sage was in China and had no idea of her abilities in the moments following Omen's death. However, another possible explanation for that could be that Omen is able to detect changes in Radianite similar to Jedis with the Force. You can see this when he asks Yoru,
"I'm curious, Rift Walker. When you travel, can you feel the pieces you leave behind?"
Meaning Omen also seems to be aware of these shifts in other people. His connection is not unique to Sage. Another thing that doesn't line up is like I said in Theory 2. Why would they have Omen be the third agent? A possible solution for this, though, is his connection to Viper. She wanted to be able to keep a close eye on him as a friend, but also knowing his potential as a Radiant and wanting to ensure he didn't become a threat. The last thing that doesn't fully line up is Chamber's connection to Omen. Every single detail of the Low Accord trailer is mapped out perfectly and can be drawn back to some sort of lore element, except that one. But hey, Riot likes to plan pretty far in advance, so we shall see. Anyways, I wanted to thank you guys for watching this video. I am sorry again for disappearing on you guys, but hey, it was only 7 months. I can't promise you guys a video every week, but you will definitely get them bi-weekly, so look forward to that. And if you like this theory, you should comment, because apparently that's how the algorithm works in 2023. See you guys next year. I'm kidding. Sort of. Maybe. And remember kids, that's just a game. A theory.